Hi everyone. So I'm continuing my investigations into outline cutouts in this current video. Instead of looking at Natural McKeer's work, I'm actually going to be looking at a graphic designer called Guy Catling instead. This has been very popular with my students over the years, and here are some examples of recreations that they have made. As you can see, it is similar to McKeer in the sense that you are just essentially cutting out part of your image on top, revealing an image underneath, and the only main difference is that we're kind of like creating a black and white effect on the top image. This is because Guy Catling uses old traditional photographs and tends to mash them up with more sort of floral or kitsch patterns, as you can see in many of his cases. I particularly like Guy Catling's images of war. This is because I feel like the flowers and the content of the original photos kind of clash a little bit. I think that flowers are usually associated with peace, and having kind of like images of war alongside it, unless it's demonstrating that that's what the soldiers are fighting for, I feel like that the kind of like the meaning and the overall colour and black and white contrast makes for quite an interesting final image. So in my work, as opposed to what my students did in theirs, I've decided to do more of an overlay, like a blending option. So the image looks like it's being projected onto the side of a building. This is a slightly more complex technique, hence why this deserves a video in itself. So let me show you how I did that. First of all, I had my image of the Baltic Art Gallery in the Newcastle Quayside, as you can see. I had my image of a plant. This is actually a student image, by the way, not my original photograph. I am going to be pasting this in using Control V. If you need to see in a little bit more detail how to actually get images onto each other's workspace, please feel free to look at my other outline cutout video, which shows you a few more of the basics. Now, what's going to be different as well in this video, as you can see, I've started to hold down Control and click on the sides of my image to stretch it out. Okay, holding down Control allows you to warp the sides of the photo in this manner, and it's particularly useful for images like this, where you want to kind of have it in the same, like facing the same way as, say, the side of a building, which is exactly what I want to do. It kind of like fools the viewer into kind of thinking that we still we have a 3D perspective that has been applied to every part of this image and not just one part. So what I would do next is I would be looking to just get rid of the visibility on here, and we'll explain why this image is on top rather than below shortly, but it is on top. So we need to be getting our image selected, the side of the building that we want. I'm not going to go through all the trouble of kind of showing you how I did that again, because I feel like I've done quite a lot of videos on selection now. So instead, I'm just going to load a selection that I did before. So once this is loaded, you can see that I was quite careful around the edges. Probably would have had to delete and add certain parts of the selection, and probably used a few different selection tools. Now I'm going to go back onto the top layer. And usually, in my previous video, I already just hit clear at this point. But as you can see, it's going to delete what I want to keep rather than what I don't. So what I therefore have to do is I need to go to Select, Inverse, and that selects everything but what I have there, and then hit Delete on the keyboard, and there we are. And as you can see, if I now go to Select, Deselect, or Control and D, we have an image that is resembling Guy Catling's a little bit more. However, what I need to do is I need to actually make my background layer black and white, and I will do that by going through the usual channels of image adjustments, black and white. I could have reduced the saturation as well, that's another alternative. I feel like it doesn't need much work with the tonal contrast. I feel like because the original image was already quite contrasting anyway, I'm actually just going to leave it the way that it is. And due to the fact that this is a photograph that I've dug up from a long time ago, that is also in keeping with Guy Catling's use of traditional photos too. Right, so what I need to do next is I need to actually make this have the appearance of the projection overlay. Here's another example I've got there. And as you can see, when we use this kind of projections overlay, we can see all the little individual textures and details of the image that was below. And that's exactly what I want to do. How I will do that is I will go to the top layer and I will go to these things here. These are called blending options. They all do very different things, but what they all have in common is they discern how one layer interacts with the layer below it. So let's, for instance, take, I don't know, color burn, and you can see an example of that. This example is perhaps a little bit too dark for color burn. Perhaps lighten might be a good alternative instead. Lighten's not bad, as you can see. Linear dodge, again, maybe a little bit too bright. Let's maybe try color. Color can often work with images like this. Not too bad, particularly in the fact that we've got kind of like a floral pattern just kind of stained onto the side of the building, which is quite interesting. But what I used in my previous example is what I use a lot of the time with black and white images underneath. I just use overlay, and I find that to be quite useful in itself. What I may want to do is I may want to increase the vibrance of my image or decrease the vibrance according to what the black and white looks like. And there you go, that's probably a little bit more suitable for what Guy Catling has in his photographs, a little bit more vibrancy. Okay, and that's what I certainly encourage my students to do in all of their work, is to get quite vibrant images behind. Okay. You'll notice that all of my images are from, mostly from the northeast. I'm originally from the northwest, and my accent has got a little bit confused over the years, I'm not going to lie. But I do currently live in Newcastle, and I've been teaching in schools in Newcastle. Now, I kind of like this as it is, but I don't feel as though the Baltic Gallery side of things is looking too good. Sorry, the Baltic Flour Mill sign is looking too good. So I'm actually going to get this on its own and maybe just reduce the harshness of the blending options in that area using the eraser tool. I could spend a little bit more time on my selection. I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to do the best job here, but I just want you to see the impact of maybe being a little bit more specific with your selection and playing around with things there. I'm going to use my eraser tool by pressing E, and I'm looking at my opacity, which is around 50%, which is good. And I'm just going to take a little bit of the sting off that so you can still see the original sign. And I feel that looks quite nice, nice enough. If you were to zoom right in, you'd see I haven't been doing it perfectly, but for the sake of a quick tutorial, I think that looks particularly effective. That is now my final image that's going to be saved as part of my YouTube thumbnail and also onto my website. I've got this, draw this image to your attention because, as you can see, I've used multiple images here as well. I selected one side of the building, cut out a flower on top, and then kind of inversed it and got rid of it and did the blending options. I then did the same thing on the other side, using a different image of a different flower to create kind of like a two-panel effect there. Going back to my original thing, as you can see, the reason why I chose to have this on top rather than underneath is because I could do that blending option. It's not going to, these blending options here will only work with images that are on top of the background rather than vice versa. Okay, I hope that has been beneficial and expanded your knowledge on outline clouds a little bit more. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to get in touch via the comments section. Otherwise, have a great day and enjoy trying out this technique. Thank you. Bye-bye.